Hello, and welcome to the Meditation Movement podcast with the British School of Meditation.
In this podcast, we will share all things meditation, including showcasing the wonderful work that our Register of Meditation teachers are doing all over the country and further afield in helping so many people benefit from this amazing practice.
Meditation and community are our two biggest passions, and we can't wait to share them both with you in this space.
So sit back, relax, maybe even close your eyes, and don't forget to breathe. We hope you enjoy this episode. Hi, and welcome to this episode of the Meditation Movement podcast. I'm Catherine Banks from the British School of Meditation, and I'm here today with one of our other co-owners, Catherine Thomlinson. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Catherine.
So, we were just saying before that this may be slightly confusing as we're both called Catherine, but hopefully you'll be able to distinguish between the voices. So as it's Mental Health Awareness Week coming up, when we intend to make this podcast live, we're going to be having a discussion today about meditation and mental health, and specifically the theme of this year's Awareness Week, which is community. So Catherine and I thought that we'd have a quick chat today about how we feel meditation helps to kind of foster a sense of community and help with loneliness. So are you ready to have a quick, Catherine?
I'm ready. Looking forward to it.
Wonderful. So to start with, I thought I'd share this quote from the Mental Health Foundation on this year's theme. They say that being part of a safe, positive community is vital for our mental health and well-being. We thrive when we have strong connections with other people and supportive communities that remind us we are not alone. Communities can provide a sense of belonging, safety, support in hard times, and give us a sense of purpose. And I just thought that was a really lovely kind of overview, and really shows the benefits and the depth and the positive benefits that we can get from communities. So in your experience, Catherine, do you feel, or how do you feel, if you do, that meditation helps with a sense of community and feelings of loneliness? Can you kind of talk about that from your personal perspective or viewpoint?
Yeah. Well, initially I sort of thought it might seem a bit odd when you consider meditation and community, because essentially meditation is an inward sort of personal experience.
Yeah.
And then I considered it a little bit more and I thought, well, yes, but also meditation does help you become more aware of your emotions, so that you can be more aware of your emotions day to day outside the practice of meditation without possibly becoming overwhelmed by them. And in that way, I think it can help you experience, emotional regulation. And in this way, it can mean better relationships, as there's more possibility that you might respond calmly and empathetically with others, especially if, you're having to have a difficult or sensitive conversation.
Yeah.
And I also was thinking about those specific meditations which cultivate feelings of goodwill and empathy towards yourself and others. So I think, regular practice of these sorts of meditations, even when it's your own personal practice of meditation, can help you enhance those feelings of compassion and connection, towards yourself, towards other people, people that you love, or even strangers, And also in terms of mindfulness and being mindful during the day, mindfulness meditation really encourages you to have a perspective of non-judgment. And this, judging can be a real contributor to social anxiety. You know, you see people as other and you're judging yourself. And I think, you know, mindfulness meditation, which encourages you to be present in the moment, you're less likely to be caught up in how you're perceived and how you're perceiving others, and actually really engage genuinely with other people. Um, so I think, you know, your own practice of meditation can actually really then enhance those sort of qualities so that you can commune with other people in a very beneficial way. Um, but I think, of course, obviously, you know, there's if you meditate, you are often then drawn to join groups of other people who meditate, whether it's online or in person. And I just think it's just so beneficial. Because meditating with other people, you know, definitely fosters that sense of a shared purpose, shared peace, creating that space for deeper connection and community, really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I love what you said there about, it being kind of, because oftentimes people do see meditation as like an individual practice, and it
yeah,
is really, is it, to an
yeah,
extent,
yeah,
we're going inwards, aren't we? But
exactly.
the benefits that we get from going inwards do then shine outwards, don't they? Because it's helping to build those relationships because
Yeah.
you're kind of working on yourself, so to speak. So you're then kind of benefiting how you're going to be interacting with other people.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's it. So I think that's, you know, a really important benefit of meditation. And then I think, you know, the other benefit is that it takes you potentially into circles of people who have that same love of meditation. And you can, you know, it's sort of almost when you meditate together, that sense is enhanced, it's magnified somehow.
Absolutely.
Um, and you know, so I was just thinking about for a long period of time, you know, I've been in a morning meditation group. It's quite early. It's at about 6:30 at the moment. We vary it whether it's summer or winter, but it's at 6:30 till 7 in the morning. And you know, we meditate together online. It's a Zoom meditation, and somebody leads it each week. But there's so in essence, we're all sitting there meditating ourselves. But at the beginning, you know, there's that sort of hello and nodding to everyone on the screen, and then we're all there meditating together. Um, and it's very potent, actually. I've also just been on a weekend Zoom retreat where we were practicing meditation and particularly some breath meditations, among other things. And, you know, again, I just found this joint effect of people meditating together was incredible. I mean, so much so that actually the sessions, because they were being hosted in America, so for me, some of the sessions finished at 1:15 in the morning.
Wow.
And I would then think, oh, I'm really quite tired now. And I go up to bed, and it was almost as if the light was so enormous that I couldn't close my eyes and go to sleep. But there was definitely this sense of community, even though you weren't actually necessarily talking to other people.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I think absolutely. Even, it's wonderful, isn't it? How even when you're in that, you're not even in the same like geographical space together,
Yeah,
for want of a
yeah,
better term. You're
yeah,
still kind of entering that same space together without getting too esoterical. You're kind of
yeah.
in that same space together, aren't you, when you're meditating, even though you're all going inwards.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, again, without getting too esoterical, I'm sure it's about this sort of sense of shared energy. You
Yeah,
know, energy is, you know, everywhere. And you sort of tap into that universal energy. Yeah. So,
absolutely.
yeah.
I completely kind of resonate with what you're saying. I know when I first started to practice meditation, for me, it was a very soul kind of
Mm,
practice. Like I learned on my own. And then I remember when I went to a retreat, like a Buddhist silent retreat, and to meditate in groups of people, there was about 50 people in that room, and it just felt different.
Mm,
And
mm,
it felt really powerful. And it
mm.
is, the only thing that was different is because there were everybody else around me was doing the same thing, and I had that kind of
Yeah, yeah,
safety and support as well.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah. No, it's incredible. I think, because we also have, don't we, that meditation calms the body's stress response. And I think that's on an individual level. But, I think if practiced in a group, this kind of co-regulation effect really amplifies that relaxation and trust. Yeah, so I
absolutely,
do
yeah.
think it's amazing.
Yeah. And I think, when we're talking about a sense of community, we can really look at it from another perspective, can't we, as the British School of Meditation, because we have our own community of actual meditation teachers in the
Yes, yeah, definitely. And I think it's fantastic, that if you've, had the sort of training or in whatever, that then there is a community of like-minded people that you can join and, share ideas with and just feel that you're part of a group, part of something. And I think this is terribly important. I think it's really important for people in terms of mental health to feel that they're part of something.
yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. Well, going back to the quote from the Mental Health Foundation, it says that kind of, having that sense of belonging, it gives us a sense of
Mm,
purpose, doesn't it?
yeah,
No,
yeah.
we really see that, don't we, in our teachers, and,
Mm,
being part of that group can really help give them a sense of purpose in their teaching,
mm,
and when they're helping other people as well. Because most people that learn to teach meditation do it in order to help other people, don't
yeah,
they?
yes.
They're building that business, so to speak, in order to help others, and then to be part of a wider community of so many hundreds of people that are doing
Yeah,
that is
yeah, yeah.
so powerful.
Yeah, and I think as we say on the course, that actually running your own business can actually feel very lonely.
Yeah,
Um, and so to have that sort of sense of being in a community with other people and being able to come along to events and just feel a sense of belonging is very powerful. Yeah, again. Um, yeah, and we do lots of things actually, don't we, within the community of the British School of Meditation. And I was just reminded actually, just this having the experience myself of meditating every morning with a group of people. So in January, we ran a whole 28 days where people could come online with me, and it was just for 15 minutes. But, when they could come, they could come. And some people came for the whole 28 days for the 15 minutes, and some people popped in and out as they could at weekends due to work commitments or other commitments. And it was wonderful. There was just such an incredible sense of community and love, actually, um, which arose during that period. And it was wonderful. So anyway, I'm going to run another one again in June. So we're doing it for the month of June. So I'm really looking forward to that, actually.
yeah,
Yeah.
lovely. No, absolutely. And I think, when you were saying that, then it kind of, I looking at it from my perspective, because I've been on maternity leave for the past
Yeah.
3 months, that's been really quite isolating, really, as much as it's this huge life change, you are isolated because you're kind of stuck in the house with
Yeah.
baby that you don't know what to do with. And I'm slowly emerging out of that now.
Yeah.
And as you were saying that, it's something that I'm really looking forward to, kind of stepping back into that space of, kind of maybe coming along to your classes, or, being able to speak to other people. Because for me, that sense of loneliness was something that, affected my mental health.
Yes.
And I think
Yes.
a lot of people probably felt that, a few years ago with COVID, didn't they, when we were in lockdown? So I
Yeah.
think everybody's been able to kind of maybe feel to some extent how being lonely and not having that community around us can affect our mental health. So when we're able to access these amazing support networks,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
it's really powerful, isn't it? And it's vital.
Definitely. I mean, I think I agree with you. I think I also found, the lockdowns and everything incredibly stressful stressful and felt very lonely and isolated. And I mean, maybe one of the benefits that came out of it was the fact that we do much more, and we sort of feel that we can do much more on Zoom.
Yeah,
um
yeah,
so we, in the past you might have thought, well, I can't, go to a meditation group unless it's actually in person, and there are benefits to going in person as well, but that you can actually join things and feel part of a community on Zoom.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely.
And so I was thinking as well, so is there anything, do you think, from a research or scientific point that really supports this whole idea of meditation and mental health and community?
Yeah, actually, there is.
You're the science buff, not me. I was thinking of
Yeah.
science.
I was just about to say, anybody that knows me, if I've trained, probably knows that that's where my passion lies. I love looking at things from a
Yeah,
research perspective with my kind of psychology background. But
yeah.
yeah, I was actually looking into this before, we came to have a chat. And
Mm,
I know you mentioned loving kindness meditation, didn't you? Those kind of meditations that help to promote, or we focus on a sense of compassion and
yeah,
love and empathy for other people in that type of meditation. And
yes.
when I'm running the training course, I really like to um, discuss and emphasize the benefits of that meditation from a scientific perspective with students, because that is one of the best types of meditation to help increase the hormone oxytocin.
Mm,
So oxytocin is um, it's kind of the hormone that's produced when we give birth. We need oxytocin to help us give birth. It's the hormone that's produced or kind of promoted when we fall in love. And studies into oxytocin have really shown that it helps to develop bonds and trust between humans. I remember an essay on this when I did my psychology masters. So it was all coming back to me when I was kind of looking into it. Um, so when the more oxytocin we have in our body, not only helps to kind of alleviate stress, it's a really kind of helpful hormone to balance or counterbalance the effects of cortisol and adrenaline in our body, but it also helps us to kind of promote that trust and bonding with other people. So I thought that's a really fascinating kind of way that we can prove, when we do these types of meditation that focus on compassion and empathy, it's not just that, we say, oh, we feel that way. Actually, there is research behind this that does
mm.
show that there is more of a kind of bonding
Wow.
um,
Yeah.
and kind of helping with that loneliness. And I also found a study as well when we're kind of discussing loneliness. There was a study in 2021 that it was called what they call a meta-analysis. So a meta-analysis is where kind of researchers will take previous studies in an area and kind of analyze them and see what the results show on a whole. And in 2021, there was a meta-analysis of, I think it was about 13 or 14 other studies into meditation and loneliness specifically. So, there is research going on into this area, and continues to do so. And in that particular meta-analysis study, what they said or what they concluded was that all of the included studies that they looked at indicated positive findings about kind of how meditation can help with loneliness. So that they said the effects of meditation in alleviating loneliness are promising. So there were different types of meditation that people did. And I don't know how they monitored or how they kind of what's the word I'm looking for? My brain's gone, you can tell. How they measured, that was a
Mm,
simple word that I couldn't think of, how they measured the effects of loneliness. It would have been through, questionnaires and things like that. But yeah, they found that with all the majority of the participants, the more people kind of practice meditation, the more it helped them to kind of feel less lonely.
mm,
And I think, again, without getting into like a spiritual or an esoteric perspective, sometimes that is because people have a sense of connection with something bigger than themselves as well, which can also help with loneliness, can't it? It might not
yeah.
necessarily even be physically,
Mm,
not feeling lonely, or having people around you. It can, having a sense of something bigger than yourself
mm.
can also help with that feeling, can't it?
Yeah, no, I think that's amazing, and I would agree. Yeah, definitely.
And also really interesting I think you mentioned something before about, it being a meditation, being that inward practice, and
Mm.
it brought to mind a really interesting research study that was done in 2023 actually. And in that research study, it showed that when we practice meditation ourselves, not only are we feeling the positive benefits, but we can pass that on into our community. So they called it kind of like a 3 degrees of separation, so to speak. So if we feel a kind of certain positive effect from meditation, when we then meet somebody else who might not even have meditated, they then can start to get the benefits of that positive effect.
Mm.
And they will then pass that on to somebody else who they meet. So
Mm.
by working on ourselves inwardly, the people that we meet in our communities and those communities that we build, we are affecting positive change in that way.
Mm.
I thought that
Yeah,
was
that's amazing.
lovely. Yeah.
That is incredible, isn't it? Actually, as you were talking, it's not quite the same at all. I find that absolutely brilliant. Um, but you often hear people talking about, you know, their animals coming to, sit with them
Yeah.
while they're meditating. And I remember my mom, I think I've spoken about this before, but I remember my mom who meditated for a long time and before I was born. They would never sort of say, we're going to meditate now and you come or don't come or whatever. But, she tells this story about me coming in and out of the room. And then I'd put all my dollies and teddies in a circle around her and was sitting there with them. And you're sort of drawn to it.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's lovely. That's so lovely. I got chills when you said that. Lovely. So I thought to kind of round off, we could maybe give a little bit of an overview of, because we've mentioned loving kindness meditation, or was maybe not specifically, but we've mentioned, those meditations that where we focus on building a sense of compassion and kindness. And the most traditional form of that meditation is called loving kindness meditation or metta bhavana. So
Yes.
it stems from, it has its roots in the Buddhist tradition because it's about kind of building compassion and empathy, as we know, which is integral to Buddhist teachings. But, nowadays a lot of people practice this type of meditation
Mm.
outside of Buddhism. And as I kind of mentioned previously, it is one of the most widely researched meditations as well, because it really does have powerful effects. So, what could you give me a bit of an overview about, what do you do when you practice loving kindness meditation? Because I think some people practice it differently. There is kind of set stages that you might go through, but could you give us a little bit of an overview about?
Yeah, to be honest, I don't very often because I use other forms of meditation most often. But but every time somebody does their science presentation and it's on loving kindness, I think, God, I must do that kind of meditation. It's so fantastic. So I do practice it occasionally. Um, in the sort of traditional way, which is, sending love to oneself, sending love to a loved one, to or feel a sense of compassion towards others, to somebody who you pass in the street or who served you at the counter or shop counter, and then to somebody who you don't know, and then out into the world. So occasionally I follow that sort of pattern. Um, but I think another way in which, I mean, it's not a traditional loving kindness meditation, but just very much at the moment, I've been sort of coming into the body
Mm,
and, um, sending love or being in love um, with myself. And,
mm,
and that can be through various, so sometimes I start at my feet and I, sort of feel that lovingness towards my feet and then my knees and then my body and then my, root chakra, sacral chakra, up heart, throat, and then um, the third eye and then the crown chakra. So I've and in a way, that's a sort of loving kindness meditation. And uh, so, what do you do? Do you practice loving kindness meditation?
I do, yeah. I think not as much now as I used to. It used to be a big part of my practice because my kind of entrance to meditation, so to speak, was through Buddhism, and I did practice it quite a lot in the initial stages of me learning meditation. Um, but I practice it quite like outside of meditation, so maybe not necessarily in a formal setting, but for me, I find it a really powerful practice to maybe kind of take snippets from and do in like stressful situations, or if I'm about to kind of have, like a meeting with somebody, or not that any meeting that I have in this job is stressful and not lovely. But yeah, like a situation where I might kind of feel nervous or anxious. So
Mm.
again, like when you're going into the
Mm.
communities and meeting new people, it's a really powerful meditation for that.
Yes.
So I think for anybody that is intrigued by this meditation, I would definitely encourage them to practice it. And the traditional way of practicing for those people, if you want to kind of look into this, is, as you mentioned, you would start with sending loving kindness to yourself and building up that sense of self-compassion. We then send loving kindness to our people that we love. So it might be friends, it might be family, it might be a pet. We then send loving kindness to somebody that we might not know. So we often call that a neutral person. So it's really kind of building on the teachings of Buddhism that, we can build kindness and compassion for people, even though we might not necessarily have a strong connection towards them or really know much about them. There is another stage, which is often, we don't advise people to practice this meditation unless they are, really experienced in meditation, because it can kind of add to or bring up uncomfortable feelings. So the stage that may be more suitable for a more experienced practitioner is where you send loving kindness to somebody that might have caused you harm, to somebody that you find difficult, is often the phrase. And really, again, that's not about forgiveness. It's really about kind of helping yourself to alleviate any uncomfortable feelings. And also, the deeper you go into it, there are teachings that that stage is really about building an understanding and empathy. So though somebody might have done something to harm you or that you found difficult, it's about understanding that there are reasons behind that, for them acting that way, which, as is a very can be a really difficult thing to get your head around. And then the final stage is to then send that loving kindness out into the world, which again, as we were saying before, can be really powerful to even just kind of, spread that out, be powerful from our perspective in the way that the feelings that brings. So the way in which you do that and you spread that loving kindness is through repeating phrases. And I think, depending on who you learn the practice with or how you practice it or what resonates with you, those phrases that you might repeat might be different. When I practice it, I tend to kind of visualize myself, and then I'll visualize the people or person that I love, and then go through the other stages. And the phrases that I repeat through each stage are, may I or you be well, may I or you be happy, and may I or you live with ease. So just a really gentle, wishing well of that person. But, the effects of that meditation can be really profound. And
Yeah.
I've seen it on the course, even people that have been practicing meditation for years, and they learn this as a new meditation when they come to train to be meditation teachers, and they just love it.
Yeah.
And you can really see the powerful effects,
Mm. Mm.
of that compassion that it's building. And you can then see, I often see when I've taught it, everybody making eye contact with each other
Yeah.
and smiling, because
Yeah.
sometimes people will send loving kindness to everybody in that room.
Yeah.
See that,
Yeah.
that community, that bonding has actually happened
Mm.
within that meditation, because people, there's something that's shared there within that kind of
Mm.
little look.
Mm.
I think it's lovely.
And I love the word that you used there. You said gentle.
Mm,
Just get that sense. It is very gentle. It
yeah,
is, loving kindness, compassion, and it's very gentle. I love that. Yeah. Mm.
lovely. So I think that's a great place to round off, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just how meditation
Well,
can really help us to create that gentle approach to building communities.
oh, it's been fantastic talking to you, Catherine. Really inspiring. And I love the fact as well that there are, you mentioned two scientific pieces of research going on that are very recent, 2021 and then the meta-analysis of 2023. That's great, isn't it? That there is actual current as it were, scientific evidence. I know we're in 2025, but that it's actually becoming more into that, well researched in that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. And I'm sure, people went off and did more research. There's so many different studies that you can find
Yeah.
into it, as we, know when we see
Yeah.
those brilliant science
True.
presentations.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, take care and
And you, Catherine.
have a lovely week. I'll see you soon.
Yeah. Take care. Bye.